May has arrived. The weather here in my forest has become incredibly mild and pleasant. A deer and her fawn are grazing on fresh buds, rejoicing in the arrival of spring. The birds in the garden too are singing gently, as if they are deeply content in this beautiful season. In my part 2 video, I mentioned that the swallows had returned to raise their chicks. Unfortunately, for some reason, they gave up on building a nest this time around. They did attach some mud to the wall and stayed for a couple of nights though. But I do have some happy news to share. To my surprise, I found a pair of Daurian Redstarts building a nest right inside the fire pit in the woods, behind my house. It's such a beautiful and heartwarming thing to see. Of course, the nest has already been built, so setting up a camera is no longer an option. I will just watch over them quietly from a gentle distance, making sure not to disturb them. I am truly looking forward to seeing the chicks grow healthy and strong. They are frequently seen hunting insects to feed their young. It appears they also remove the chicks' waste to maintain a sanitary nest. This behaviour is also clearly visible. Here in this forest, these tiny lives are being nurtured every day in places beyond our knowledge. Reflecting on this, I strongly feel that we must deeply cherish and protect this abundance of nature and pass it on to the future. The day after I filmed them, the chicks were gone. No matter how much I searched the grounds, I couldn't see any sign of them, nor could I hear even a faint chirp. In the harsh reality of nature, a worst-case scenario crosses my mind. A few days later, in the midst of my deep anxiety, the male Daurian Redstart appeared high in the forest canopy. I still could not see or hear the chicks, and at that moment, I did not know whether they had fledged safely or whether something had happened to them. Even so, seeing the male return to this forest gave me a small sense of hope. Perhaps the chicks had scattered into the thick bushes, hiding quietly to avoid danger. There was still no certain answer, but hoping that those tiny lives were still continuing somewhere in this forest, I decided to keep watching over them quietly for a little longer. A week had passed since the nest inside the fire pit became empty. One day after the rain, the male Daurian Redstart appeared high in the forest trees and near the entrance approach. His voice sounded a little different from his usual sharp call. It was softer somehow, almost as if he were quietly calling toward the depths of the forest. Had the chicks truly fledged, or had something happened to them? At that point, I still did not know, but seeing the male appear in this forest again and hearing his quiet voice gave me a small sense of hope. About 3 more days later, one morning, I caught sight of the mother bird once again in the forest. It was exactly 10 days since the nest inside the fire pit had become empty. She held food firmly in her beak and disappeared deep into the eastern bushes. For several days after that, the male was also seen carrying food to the very same bushes again and again. Perhaps the young birds, now nearing independence, were waiting somewhere nearby. But at that point, I still did not know the truth. All I could do was quietly watch over them, hoping that those tiny lives were still continuing deep within the eastern greenery. I stepped onto the path lined with the eastern bushes where they had headed. It was a true natural hideout, overgrown with thick vegetation, making it extremely difficult to spot the parent birds or their chicks. One day, as I was silently aiming my camera at the bushes as usual, it happened. I heard a faint, young chirp coming from deep within the dense green. Peering through the lens, there it was. There was no mistaking it. It was the chick. Finally, I was able to capture the young bird living strongly deep within the bushes. Hidden from view in the dense greenery, this tiny life was truly still there. At last, I was able to see it with my own eyes. The sight of it eagerly pecking at the red raspberries is truly heartwarming and brings a smile to my face. Ahead lies the harsh reality of nature, where it will surely face countless challenges. Still, I cannot help but pray that this tiny life grows up safely and strongly. The parent bird, having completed the great task of raising its young, had regained its plump and adorable figure just like before, with a quiet hope that they might one day return to this abundant forest. I will now bring this story to a close. Thank you so much for watching until the end. In my forest today, numerous wild birds, including the Narcissus flycatcher, Japanese bush warbler, and Japanese thrush, fill the air with their beautiful songs. In the next video, I plan to share the story of a great tit that has just laid eggs in the newly prepared nest box. Please look forward to witnessing that precious moment of new life. I look forward to seeing you again on this channel.